So the idea with this panel, consisting of three large multinational companies and corporates, it's to look at the tech solution. What is the best approach, the best strategies? We don't claim to answer all your question, but to talk about the different approach. So I go for one solution approach, best of suit or best of breeds. What are your recommendations? And maybe some tip and insight, because you are, let's say, in the Treasury department of large multinational companies. It's interesting to see what you are doing in your corporation. So maybe I will ask you to briefly introduce yourself, and then we will, let's say, start with the Q&A. So maybe Sanae, ladies first.
Hello, François. Thank you. So I'm Sanae Maamouri, head of Treasury in Luxembourg for the group Majorel, old name now Teleperformance. We got acquired last year by this leader for customer services, and managing the old Majorel scope from here, from Luxembourg, and as well the implementation of the Treasury system for all the group Teleperformance. Thank you.
By the way, you have the same system for the group because it's a merger?
Yes. So after the acquisition, the new group Teleperformance has chosen the same one as a best practice for both.
Okay, because it's an interesting point. When you have merger or demerger, it will be the object of the next session to explain what are we doing in terms of IT solution. Jean-Philippe, introduce yourself.
So Jean-Philippe Bernard, I'm expert in Treasury since a decade now, especially in liquidity, FX, and tax. It's happened as well that we have some tax in Treasury. I'm also an active shareholder of a mid-cap company in France, family business, and finally active ATEL members and trying to participate as much as I can. So thank you for having us.
And Mario, you came several times to make presentation at ATEL, so welcome again. So could you introduce yourself and your company?
Thanks, François. So my name is Mario del Natale. I'm working for Johnson Controls since 1997, so a long time ago. I'm calling myself as an hybrid guy. I started as a developer a long time ago, even developing ERP before SAP and Oracle. And I moved to the finance world, the treasury world. I'm responsible globally for all our digital solution at Johnson Controls. All our applications are used globally by all our business units at Johnson Controls.
If I may comment, so I know Mario and his former boss for years. At least was it maybe 20 years ago, maybe more. You were one of the first coming from an IT background, hired by a treasury team. And so I was really impressed. And these days, when you think about what Giuseppe did, I think it was really avant-gardist or let's say precursor of what will be the solution. And we will talk later on with Peter about the skills you need in treasury these days. And of course, IT skill is quite important. So I'm pleased to see that after years, you eventually became a corporate treasurer. So it's good to see you. Again, three large multinational companies. So let's talk with you about what you think and what trends have you noticed in the treasury management solution in a broad sense over the last months and years. So maybe Sanae, do you want to start and comment what you've seen?
Yes. So first, it's a pleasure for me to be here today to discuss such a pivotal topic to the future of Treasury operation, the choice between the best of breed and best in suit technology solution. As we all know, the role of Treasury is evolving rapidly the recent years, driven by digital transformation, regulatory changes, and the ever-increasing complexity of global financial markets. So in this dynamic context, the right technology can make all the difference. And in terms of, to answer your question, François, of trends, in the recent months and years, we have seen some clear trends in technology solution. First, automation is becoming essential to streamline organization processes and reduce manual tasks. We have seen that companies are focusing more on real-time data for better cash visibility and forecasting. We have seen a significant push to integrate these solutions with digital platforms, and as well. And finally, some organizations are as well aligning their treasury strategies with sustainable goals, reflecting a real commitment to social corporate responsibility. All these trends, they point to a drive for more agile and effective financial management.
Any comment you want to comment? Maybe Mario?
I will not be very different than you. Nevertheless, I will take it from another angle, if I may. Yeah. And maybe I will be a little bit the bad guy of today, but what I notice is that software provider, I'm looking more on the TMS and the ERP. Try to explain and push for new technology, they should, right? But to maybe people that do not master the concept. And this has bad impact on software reliability or software stability, and even on the trusty relationship that we have with the provider. That's what I'm seeing as well today. Software providers try to differentiate from each other. They try to compete each other, but at the end, they are all coming with the same ID at the same time. So what you said about AI, data analytics, about automation, every year there is always something happening, but they're all coming at the same time. We are wondering why. So they're just coming at the same time. Well, as you said, since 20 years at Johnson Controls, we have data analytics, we have automation, we have whatever you want to call it, but we are there. So basically what I'm trying to say is that there are a lot of things happening on the market, but it's not so different from one software provider to the other. And I still don't understand why they are all coming with the same idea at the same time. That's something that I don't know if you have the same idea, but it's like that. What I see as well is what, and maybe from a banking point of view, is that the bank try to compete with TMS. They're all coming with a kind of a TMS software. Maybe for corporate that have only one bank relationship, it's good, right? It's what it is. In our case, it's not the case, but maybe it's not where the bank should focus, from my point of view, right? Finally, everybody speak about AI. That's good. That's AI. But I recall the conclusion at Eurofinance Copenhagen this year is that AI is still something that in the cloud, right? Especially from a treasury point of view. And I do believe that the conclusion was that AI is not yet mature enough because you do not have the data. You can say whatever you want. You do not have the data, all data to make it a generative AI working perfectly. And there are too many expectations around AI that leads today to too many or too much disappointments. So there are a lot of things coming in the market, a lot of things really that could improve your processes, but you have really to pay attention to what.
I got your point on AI, and it's, by the way, the reason we have in the third part a session on AI, and we will try to address some of your points because some are right. So are we at the stage where we should further automate, or what we used to call hyper-automate before using AI? But AI is coming, and by the way, I will explain what we do at the EACT level, what we did with SAP, BNP, and PwC. It's quite interesting. Maybe Jean-Philippe, any comment on that, or the strategies, the approach, the view of your company, or recommendation in general?
Yeah, I think in general, when we look at where companies were in terms of maturity 5 years ago, we are completely different to what we are today. And I saw that in Natale. Back then, I remember when John Deere joined Natale, I was like, okay, we are John Deere, and we are like very way behind. And then I come with all the other treasurers, and I was like, oh, finally we are way in advance. And I was afraid. I was really afraid of that because I saw how much gap we had to the best pictures. And for me, it was scary, but it was even more scarier with the fact that we were on the first stage. And I think when I saw what we did as treasurer on the past 5 years, it's really amazing. And that's maybe something that the business provider are kind of forgetting is we are really new in terms of maturity to the capacity to implement the system, but behind that, to the capacity to manage the data. And we are nothing as treasurer if we don't manage the data. So that's usually when I'm kind of referring to different speakers when I speak to. is you need to understand yourself first on which path you are on your corporate technology maturity. Because each entity would be different. We have some Johnson Control which may have a lot of ERPs, some other companies which would have one ERP and the thousands of entities worldwide. It's not the same concept. You don't manage the same data. You cannot link to other topics as easily. So sometimes before trying to sell something or to buy something as a corporate treasurer, you need to understand yourself very deeply.
No, it's why, and coming back to the point from Cyril, I think it's quite important to benchmark. It's why we have the peer group, and we try, and thanks to you and to Benjamin to help me in organizing this kind of format where we try among large multinational companies to share some ideas and views. But I totally agree with your point. So any single company has different constraint, market, let's say regulation, margin also, because the margin could also have a huge impact on the way you hedge, the way you behave. Another question that we really often hear from members, the role of the CIO and the IT in the choice. So do you think that they are playing a fair role? Because I know that it's quite important to as a guardian of the temple and to make sure that in terms of IT, you also respect your IT strategy. But we need some tools, and sometimes with this kind of fight between IT and Treasury, have you noticed that? What are your view on that? Want to start?
I can go with it if you want. Yeah, sure. So I would say again, I would go back to this corporate tech maturity curve. I love it a lot, so I may repeat myself quite much. But again, you need to understand yourself. You cannot implement the same solution if you manage your data or not. And a lot of time, I got some providers which are coming and say, "Hey, we manage your data for you." I don't want you. Do you want to buy a house without looking at the blueprint? I mean, I should make a poll quickly. I'm pretty sure that no one will raise their hands. You want to understand what you buy, what you manage, where you live on. Your data is exactly the same. So when we speak about CIO, it's exactly the same thing. We are selling ROI on our CFOs, but we are selling data management on the CIO. We are selling like how much usage of IT we have. And the funny thing is, the better you manage your data, the lowest it would cost you to manage the additional items that you would get. For example, you need some additional detail on FX management and so on. If you have the right data, you would just plug the tool. It would not cost you anything. Well, a tiny bit, but not as much as if you would have to implement something fully. So approach there is really like focus on yourself.
What about Majorel? What was the issue? So have you felt the weight of IT?
I pretty much agree with your analysis. So first, you have to really understand what you have internally inside the group. I remember 3 years ago when we launched this project, the IT was really very involved with us. We had a multi-ERP environment. And so we decided together on the IT architecture. We have, because it's a multi-ERP, so we have the SFTP architecture. So the IT was very involved. We had an IT PMO working together with us, hand in hand on the project. They even had their own KPI on the success of the project. And this, it was really helping to have this implementation smoothly in our countries. After the acquisition on November last year, the dynamic has shifted because the new group, we have one ERP and we are migrating as well the old group to this one ERP. So we decided to change the architecture to an API architecture for the all what is related to vendor. Here the IT is not in more involved as in the beginning. He is more consulted, but still he is there deciding with us on the architecture. On the HR part, all the payment of salaries, etc., we are still having a multi environment. We have as much HR tool as the countries. So we are still keeping the SFTP, and there we have still an IT PMO taking care of this part. So I would say the extent of the involvement of the IT team depends on the environment, the existing tools. And personally, I strongly advocate to involve them since the beginning, before even signing the contract with the editor, and consulting with them and deciding together on the target architecture.
I remember on your project that IT was really involved from the early days, and we had a good teaming with them. It was quite nice. It's not always the same because the strategy could be different and the timing could be different. The single ERP or the single instance or an upgrade of a version. If you use SAP, you move to SAP S/4HANA. That could be also how do you fit in the strategies and how to align both. Maybe Mario, any comment from your side? You're also coming from a large multinational companies. What is the IT strategies? And
so first, you have to understand that you have more than 150 ERP in the company. So just to put the picture, right? So no doubt that the overall IT strategy and IT security is coming from the decision from the CIO. However, when it comes to Treasury, it's a little bit a different story. As I always said, Treasury is a niche, right? And the Treasury application is a niche in the niche. So that's something that you have to take into consideration. And all companies obviously are trying to minimize their IT cost, that's for sure. And even big companies such as ours hire, I will say, specific consulting firm to try to understand and try to streamline the portfolio of application that we have. However, when I'm back with what I said earlier, we are a niche. And when investigating that niche, you need to understand really what is Treasury. And again, the definition of Treasury may be different from one company to the other, right? That's for sure. Right, that's for sure. But nevertheless, you need to understand that. You need to understand what has been put in place and the reason why it has been put in place. So yes, the IT department, and which IT department? Because nowadays, IT department, you have DBA, you have developers, you have network, you have whatever you want to call it, and it's very difficult today to understand who is the right person to go. But I still believe that today the Treasury, specifically in our case, we have always something to say. We can always influence our decision on which system we want to use.
Maybe a final question for you, takeaways or tips you will give to the audience. What are the recommendation or things that you've noticed you would like to share with our delegates? Maybe start with you, Jean-Philippe.
I would say in general is sometimes you need to put your feet back to the ground. It may sound weird, but you have so many technologies. You are kind of a kid in a play game or in a shops. You know, you want to buy everything. You want to have everything. But does it make sense? As we were saying, why now? Does it make sense now? Are you ready for it? We were willing to implement an FX system in our system last year. We started and we identified that all data is not well prepared to do such things. Let's stop. No investments. Let's wait. Let's get ready for it. So in general, what I would say is I also heard some treasurers saying like, yeah, but do we really need to invest and to spend that much? And I would go back to this economy 101 that you may have heard of is you have 3 ways of growth, short-term, mid-term, and then efficiencies. The first 2, you gain at the beginning, but you necessarily pay afterwards. So it's a net flat zero. The only way where you get growth is efficiency. So anytime you gain efficiency, and sometimes it's by cleaning up your data, that's the way to go.
Sanae, with you, I think it's also quite interesting to see what are the tips we've mentioned, and I like what Cyril proposed and explained that return on investment. It's something that you did. You also work with the road mapping, so you say, okay, where do I want to go? It was this sentence reminded by Cyril. So it's important to know where you want to go, and not only the next couple of months, but years. And what are the solutions you will have to have? Because another problem at your level. It's the lack of resources, lack of budget sometimes. So how to deal with that?
Yes, it's an important point here, François. When selecting the system, you should not think only about today, what is covering your need today. You have really to choose a future-proof solution that is aligning with your future strategy as well. And in terms of budget, here as well, the question between best of breed. So yes, you have the precision, but you will have the cost as well of having multiple systems. And especially you have to think about the after. The maintenance is a cost. Mm-hmm. So the maintaining many systems will cost higher than having one solution best in suit. And the appeal here is to have all your treasury activities under one roof. So by the way, in our case, it's a best in suit solution that we have chosen, considering all these points that I just mentioned. But one important point as well that you mentioned is understanding your need, because we didn't know since the beginning that we will go with a best in suit. It came with defining exactly. Yes, our need, the cost, the integration, the use, it's the platform user friendly or not, etc.
What was interesting in your case that it's a big mega merger between two world leaders in what you do and managing call centers, etc. So, but could we say that Teleperformance acquired Majorel, and so usually the acquirer try to impose this system? In this case, it's quite interesting because your system has been the other way around. So I think it's quite interesting. Yes. Maybe because because it was well done, a good solution, yeah. And also maybe because of the fact that it was a more recent project. I don't know.
So I remember when we did the presentation, to present ourselves to the new group, the new treasury team, etc. We have presented the project has 2 years. We have implemented 14 countries, and we showed, case by case the success of each country, and it was really important. And from that point, we knew that for them as well, they want the same exact thing. Yeah.
Maybe Mario, to just conclude with you, what will be your tips or takeaways or to continue to improve? I know that you are looking for solutions for specific needs. So are you keep, let's say, improving, enhancing your IT architecture for treasury solutions?
Obviously, you are always trying to improve, always to try to automate more than what you have today. The only thing that maybe I would like to say is that I see a lot of treasurer when discussing with the peers. They want to have something. They put on the paper, I want to do that. But they don't know how to make it. And so they just rely afterwards on external people that they can even not follow up to what they do. So I recommend, as you said earlier, to have a specific profile in the Department of Treasury that can discuss with a sort of provider, with the bankers, with internal IT, whoever else, to try to help the treasurer to understand what would be the impact of whatever new feature that we want to implement. Always challenge yourself as well. Have an open mind and to just think out of the box and to see, okay, it's not what I see on the screen that is important, what I can do it beyond the screen, and to see what we can be implemented easily. So now, depending of the size of your IT, depending of your IT strategy, maybe you will not get it. You will not get whatever you want, right? So be prepared for that. But it's not an issue. You have to challenge again yourself to try to use as much as possible and trying to improve whatever you get to meet your needs. So whatever you can do it yourself, do it. Do not rely on somebody else. Try to make it yourself internally at Treasury. Easy to say, right? Difficult to do, but the ball is in your hands. It's depending of your profile, depending of your capability and your willingness to try to do something different.
So thanks to the three of you for this insightful comment. And again, they will stay with us, so feel free during the breaks or the cocktail to address questions or to exchange with them. And again, for those who are not yet member of the peer group, so we have a peer group, it's also a good forum. And by the way, one of the topics we will address is this kind of selection, how to best select tools. So believe me, even for large multinational companies, it's still a big issue. How can I make sure that I have the right solution? and I, let's say, contemplate the larger scope of solution that could fit to my needs. Thanks a lot to all of you.